Meforshim ask, why is it that Parshas Balak is usually juxtaposed to the 3 weeks? Just as it was, we lane Parshas Balak, and here we are in Shivasa B'Tammuz. Unless it's an Uber, that's the way it usually is. And one of the terutzim given is that the klalos in Parshas Balak changed to brachas. So too do we hope and pray to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that the 3 weeks, which are weeks of sorrow, will change to weeks of joy. And that's why it is juxtaposed. Ashreinu, think of it for a moment. Here we are in Eretz Israel. I mean, how many people out there have never been to Eretz Israel? And here we are in Eretz Israel, and not only that, we're in Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh. And if we wanted to, we could go from here to the Makom HaMikdash. Not on it, but to it. Ashreinu, how fortunate we are in this generation. I recall when someone sent a letter to Premier Khrushchev of the former Soviet Union, and he said, Premier Khrushchev, I want to go to Israel. I want you to let me go to Israel. And if you will not, I will walk there on foot, because I want to be there. And here we are, Baruch Hashem. When the Netziv, it was going to be the Yeshiva of Volozhin, when he was in Europe, and he was in Europe, when he received a bottle of wine from Israel, he put on his Shabbos clothing because it was so special to him. Wine from Eretz Israel. So very, very special to him. So Ashreinu, how fortunate we are. I hope that the Kiruv seminar will be the tipping point in Yetzer Hashem for us to be able to be Mekabel Mashiach Tzidkenu. Rabbi Jacobs planned and organized this program. And the Kiruv program is certainly Mekarev us to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it also, Halavai, should be Mekarev the Geula to us as well. I chose Chinuch because I wanted to make a lasting impact on people. I once heard Rabbi Joseph Kamenetsky. Rabbi Joseph Kamenetsky, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, was the director of Torah U'Masorah, which set up hundreds and hundreds of day schools. He had a vision of a day school in every community that had at least a certain number of Jews. And Baruch Hashem, that vision has become a reality. So he told us about the Panovich Rav, who once davened in a Sephardic shul. Now we know by Sephardim, most often, their Sefer Torah, when it's read, is read in an erect position, a standing position. Ours is laying on the bima, mushkav on the bima. So when the Panovich Rav entered the shul, a little Sephardic boy came over to him, and he said, Rosh Hashiva, ein anu roitzim Torah mushkevet, anu roitzim Torah omedet. The child was afraid that out of deference to the Panovich Rav, the shul community would read the Sefer Torah the way that he read it in his Ashkenazic setting. And the Torah, instead of erect, would be placed down. And instead, he said, Rosh Hashiva, we don't want a Torah that's lying down. We want a Torah that's standing up. When the Panovich came back to Panovich, he told his Talmidim, I heard something that is, mind-boggling, and it's so appropriate. Ein anu rotzim Torah mushkevet. We do not want a Torah that's lying down, that it's ossified, that it doesn't move, it doesn't turn people on, and all. We want a Torah that's moving, a Torah that reaches the hearts and the minds of people and brings them close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. A Torah is taught by people who are on fire with the Esha Torah. This is what I heard from Reb Joseph Kamenetsky. Joseph Kamenetsky was a man on fire, and he ignited me to a career of 41 years in chinuch in the United States, and last 16 in Atlanta, as when I was introduced, as Rabbi Jacobs mentioned. When I teach a class, as I do here for Or Lagola, and I told the young men who aspire to go into kiruv, not necessarily into teaching, but very well, that's the emphasis in our particular class, but it could be so many different things. And the truth is this: when we speak about teaching classes and all that, we will see tonight as well, much of what we're talking about in the class is that which we do at home and that which we do wherever we are. Because, gentlemen, we who are here, and if there are ladies as well, ladies and gentlemen, the fact is everybody here is a teacher. When I was a principal, I asked our parents for parents' meetings, how many of you are teachers? So a few hands went up, we're teachers. And I say, no, you are all teachers. You're teaching your family, you're teaching your neighbors, etc., etc. So anyway, when I said to them, we are involved in Hatzalas Nefashos. Hatzalas Nefashos. So everybody nods in agreement, as many of you may feel as well. Anyone involved in kiruv, especially in teaching in the class, Hatzalas Nefashos, especially the people out of the main cities, going on in small cities throughout the United States or anywhere in the world. So my comment was, whose nefesh are we being matzil? We're being matzil our nefesh as well. Of other, we're taking care of the other people too. But we're beginning at home, and that's for certain. Because as I say, we are all teachers in a certain way. Let me expand on this for a moment. It is interesting to see that Matovu Aleha Yaakov Mishkan Oisecha Yisrael, which is said by our arch enemy, Bilham, is mentioned in the Siddur. Chazal put it into a Siddur before Adon Olam. So those of us who say that part of davening in the morning, interesting. Before we start the davening, who are we confronted with? The arch enemy of Klal Yisrael. He takes his place, Yamach Shemo, with other people who I don't want to have to mention here, but Hamevinim Yavinu. So the fact is that question, why is it that he's mentioned in the Siddur? So the Baruch Amar says that it's because if our enemies say something about us, we know it's true. Okay, notwithstanding that. But others say, listen, it's really the words of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's true, but does it have to come from Bilham? He has to be in our Siddur, even before we start Adon Olam? Yeah. If you want to say something nice about Klal Yisrael, say, Mikam Klal Yisrael, Goya Chod Ba'aretz. Let that be the one. So I heard from Rav Mordechai Kamenetsky years ago an idea like this. Why is it that Bilham, when he had to bless instead of curse, and there was that change, that he said Matovu? Because when he overlooked the mount, on top of the mountain, the Jewish people at that time, he saw something that registered in his mind as well. And begrudgingly, Al Shalo Ro'a Pischeihem Psuchim Zeh Mul Zeh. He saw a certain level of tznius, a certain level of privacy that didn't exist in the pagan world that he was familiar with. And it registered. So now, when he had to give the bracha, that's what came out. Now, what's the idea? Again, why did Chazal place that in the Siddur? And the idea is this. When we start the day, our sages wanted us to know that we, all of us, are under scrutiny. People are looking at us. Very often, we don't realize. Certainly at home, our children, our wives, our parents, others, brothers, sisters, whoever they may be in our family and extended family. And then when we go out into the street, whether we're driving and how we drive, when we stand in the supermarket, in the makolet, whether when we come into daven and someone might be in our seat, or we might be coming in and someone might be in our way, whatever it is, we're always being scrutinized from the beginning of the day. Besides the fact, I understand that. But getting into right now on the level that we are, there are other people of ayin roa, ozen shamas around us as well. And therefore, Chazal wanted us to be aware of that as we start off the day. Beautiful idea. Now the fact is that Rabbi, the Mora, when he or she walks into the classroom, it's the same thing, but just, it's multiplied by 20 or more in a class. I remember years ago, I finished talking after davening. I used to say it's about Torah very often, and a student came over to me and says, Rabbi Rosenbaum, you're wearing two different shoes, two different pairs of shoes. I figured, oy vey, two different pairs of shoes. I looked down, I checked my shoes. Honestly, I had to look a second time. But she didn't, because we're under scrutiny. That's just the way it is. So the bottom line is, early in the morning, be aware that we have to be on our best behavior to make a Kiddush Hashem, wherever it may be. And certainly the Rebbe, the Morah with their Talmidim. Now, when people look at students, at children, well, the fact is, at young men who are here, and we say, with Rabbi Lazar Silver, at one time, Zecher Tzadik Livrocha, came to Eretz Israel in Baltimore as a guest of the Rosh Hashiva, Rabbi Ruderman Zecher Tzadik Livrocha, and Rosh Hashiva had him speak to the young men, the same age as the young men who are here in Or Sameach. And a small group came, and from the city almost nobody came. It was publicized, but people didn't come. So Shiva apologized. There's a small group of young men. So Rabbi Eliezer Silver said, Rashiva, I don't see young men. I see an Askan. I see a Rav, a Rosh Hashiva, I see a Rebbe, I see a teacher, I see a businessman, I see different people as adults who are going to go out into the world. And they're going to bring people closer to Yiddishkeit as they do this. So I don't, When I went into Chinuch, the Rosh Hashiva said to me, Man de Nofach, Middelei Nofach. I said, Rebbe, give me an idea. Rosh Hashiva should give me an idea that I can take with me in Chinuch. Man de Nofach. Whatever you blow what you have. The substance you have, you can give over. So what does it mean to us? I'm not in the classroom, says somebody, and I'm in something else. That's fine. But it means the same thing for our Shabbos table. When we prepare well at our Shabbos table with Divrei Torah, what our wives are doing in the kitchen, we should be doing for the table. In that way of ready. If it's our children on their level, whatever. This is what it's all about. Man de nafach, midalei nafach. And the message there was, keep learning. That was the message. You don't want to grow. How do people burn out? Because they run out of what they learned then. No, it has to be constant. Rav Pam Zecher Tzadik Livrocha used to say that a person's mashpia means overflowing. It's not that you pour into somebody, and then later on you don't have much more to pour, but on the contrary, you overflow. And when a person keeps on going, and he keeps on growing, and that's the way it is. Baruch Hashem. Now we're talking about someone who truly is happy in what he is doing, and can reach others in the best possible way. Our morning exercise, for years, of the 41 years, probably 30 plus years, we have made this approach to students. And we started off every day with the idea of we are worthwhile people because we are created b'tselem Elohim. Everything we think, say, and do must show that we are created b'tselem Elohim. Now, don't ask me what Selim Elohim means, but it's something lofty, and it gets the idea, even from the youngest to the oldest, is such, that we are special. The Rebbe gives it over to his Talmidim, and we give it over to our families, and we treat people in this way too, that everyone is a Selim Elohim, I am too. And the fact is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not make junk. And it means as well, Ein davar omed b'fnei haratzon. There are no ceilings. There often are self-imposed ceilings on what I think I can do or not. But the fact is, there's siyata d'shmaya for us to be able to reach for the stars. And with the Kadosh Baruch Hu's help, people can reach much farther than they think they can, especially in Yiddishkeit. Let me give you an idea that inspired me for years. I gave it over a number of times in a number of places. When I started my first position in Hartford, Connecticut, I was there for 5 years. And during that period of time, there was one college, it was called Trinity College, a small postage stamp-sized college, of which there were, Trinity may sound, somewhat intimidating, but there are a lot of Jewish boys there and girls there. They were and Baruch Hashem, and they were some of the most outstanding leaders on campus, and some of them have become leaders within the Jewish world as well. But let me go back to the beginning. So here I am, I interviewed by the students. They were looking for a Hillel advisor, a non-paid position, and in the evenings, being in chinuch, along with preparations, I also, for my own position, I interviewed for this, and the students, took me on. I said to myself, like wonders of wonders, miracles of miracles, Kalman Rosenbaum, is now on Trinity. Okay, fine. So we started a kosher kitchen on campus. And it was not too successful. It was not in the center of campus, but I want you to know the center of campus was near the corner of the campus. And everything was so small that center, the corner, we're not talking about a lot of distance, okay? So what happens? One day, I was speaking to one of the students, one of the female students. I recall well, her name is Debbie, and she did not attend the kosher kitchen. I said to Debbie, Deb, I wonder why more students are not attending our kosher kitchen. I hope that she would, talk to me about it. And maybe it's not in the center, the Hillel house is not that's where the kosher kitchen was. Maybe it's not in the center of campus. So Debbie looked at me with a look as if to say, oh man, you just don't get it. And she said to me, Rabbi Rosenbaum, if you want to get there, it's not too far. Okay, we continued talking, and then that was the end of the conversation. And I saw her sometimes afterwards on campus, but that was the end of the conversation. I'd like to tell you that today she's a Rebbitzin, and she's someone, or maybe I can't do that because I lost touch with Debbie. However, what she said to me stuck in my mind. If you want to get there, it's not too far. So what happened? I started to sing it because I didn't want to lose it. She left and I started, if you want to get there, it's not too far. If you want to get there, it's not too far. And I drove home with it. And I walked upstairs to my home, and my wife, Aleha Shalom, said, Kalman, what is it? If you want to get there, it's not too far. If you want to get there, it's not too far. Anyway, let me tell you, I have used that often to motivate students. And if I didn't motivate students, I will tell you, I motivated myself. If you want to get there, it's not too far. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us siyata d'shmaya to reach beyond. Many people here, I don't not necessarily here meaning, in Or Sameach, and really many people around in this highly cosmopolitan, city is such a city of huge siyata d'shmaya, have made choices to change the course of their lives in the stream of life. They've gone counterclockwise, like a collar goes around her chassan. Instead of clockwise, she goes counterclockwise. And they've also decided to go counterclockwise to reach a different quality of life. And the fact is, siyata d'shmaya has been for them. Success, they say, comes in cans. I thought it's cans. Heinz beans, what is it? Success comes in cans. And what's the can? I can do it. And from I can do it, I will do it. And the other one is, I did it. And that's it. Especially when it comes to ruchnius, there is no ceiling what we can do. Torah is emes. That's why in the classroom we can be so fervent. It is emes. From aleph to tough. It is true, through, and through. And that's emes itself. The first and last letter of the aleph bays. The fact is, in the beginning of Bereshis, the first 3 words of Bereshis, bara Elohim, end Bereshis with a taf, bara with a aleph, Elohim with a mem. If you reorder them, we have the word emes, the sof tevos, emes. Why the sof tevos? Because often you have to see something through to see the emes. At first glance, what's going on here? But you stick it out, and then you see what it is. And then, 34 psukim later, at the end of the first paragraph of what we say Kiddush, Asher bara Elohim lasos, bara ends with an aleph, Elohim with a mem, and lasos with a taf. And the fact is it's in proper order, so to speak. You don't have to reorder anything. Because if you stuck it out, 34 psukim, and there you are, good. You're on the track. In the beginning, kolas cautious. But stick it out, it gets better and better. We see in Chazal a painstaking effort to make sure that the Masorah that we have is emes. Painstaking. I want to share with you a Gemara in Erevin. I want to keep this in mind, that there are not going to be surprises in Yiddishkeit, because our Chachamim have given their lives to see to it that Torah Shebiksav and Torah Shebal Peh their integrity have remained. The Gemara tells in Erevin that Rav Meir was a Talmud of Rabbi Yishmael. And Rabbi Yishmael one day interviewed him and said, Bini, what do you do? What is your occupation? And he says, I am a lavener. I'm a scribe. He says, Bini, my son, be very, very careful in your work, because your work is meleches shemayim. You must be certain not to make a mistake, because God forbid you can be chor of the world by adding something or subtracting. Rashi explains in a pasuk such as from Yirmiyahu, Hashem Elokim emes. If you drop the aleph, in the word emes, you, God forbid, Hashem Elokim, just mem tov. Oi, that's heresy. And if you, instead of writing Vayomer Hashem, you would add a vav at the end, and you would come Vayomru to have a polytheistic look of Vayom. Chas v'shalom, again, we could destroy the world. We could lead people astray. And so Rabbi Meir answers, no, Rebbe, I would never. I'm a baki, he says. I'm an expert. I would never add or subtract. I'm very careful. However, he says, I'm so careful that I use kankantum. I'm so scrupulous, I use kankantum, which is there to make things indelible. The moment my quill touches the parchment, it's in. It's locked in. So that even a fly, and listen to this is it, shows us, even a fly that would light on top of, for example, Hashem Echad, on that dalet, could not, before the ink dries, change the dalet, the tip of the dalet, into a resh, where you, God forbid, could get Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem and that would be instead of Dalit, Achir instead of Echad. So what are we saying? To be certain that the Masorah would remain. We're not worried about additions or subtractions. We're speaking about the integrity of here. A scribe even uses indelible ink, for which there's a discussion in the Gemara about that. But the fact is to make sure that there shouldn't be any lack, chas v'shalom, of accuracy. This is our Masorah. To the student in the classroom, this is it. Torah is emes. If you want to attach yourself to that which is true, here it is, within all the sheker around us. We have as well the discussion between Rav Chia and Rav Chanina, where Rav Chia says to Rav Chanina, I will make sure that the Torah is never forgotten from the world. Because if it were to happen that Torah was in danger of being forgotten, I would plant flax. I would harvest the flax. I would make traps, ropes to capture deer. I would shech the deer and give the meat to orphans. I would take the skin and make parchment. I would write the text of the Torah and of Mishnah on parchment. I would then go and take 5 boys. I'd each teach them another sefer of the Chumash. I would take another 6 boys and teach them the second chalakim of the Mishnayos. And then I would let them learn with each other and teach each other. This way I would see that Torah would never be forgotten from Israel. So Rebbe Yehuda Nasi said, Gedolim, that which is Reb Meir, that Reb Chia wants to do. Gedolim Ma'asav Chia. Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky Zecher Tzadik Livracha said, why did Reb Chia have to do everything by himself? Why couldn't he just buy the material as we do now? So he could do it and would do it, he answers, because he wanted purity of transmission. Since he was able to do it, he wanted to make sure that the purity of transmission would be there. That means when the Torah teacher gives over his Torah to his students, he knows a priori, and they know. But what they have is Torah's emes. I want you to contrast this. With what might go on elsewhere. There was a guru in Tibet, who was old, frail, and he was dying. And thousands of people, of his followers, heard that he was dying. And they came to pay their last respects to him. And you have a line going up the mountain of people waiting to see him. And they get a message passed on, person to person. This is the days before email, before texting, before cell phones. Here we go. There was a day like this. For those of us who are a day like this. So now, here they are. And the message comes down from the top of the mountain. The guru has said, the world is like a river. The world is like a river. And they pass it down. The world is like a river, the world is like a river, the world is like a river. And there it goes down. And it snakes down to all the people. And at the very end, somebody says, why? So the message goes up. Why? All people, snakes all the way up. And the guru, he's like ready to leave this world. And just then they're whispering to his ear, why? So he says, so it's not like a river. Got the idea? So it's not like a river. By us, it's not like a river. If we're dealing with the words of Hashem, and we take it very seriously. Let me tell you, I take it seriously. Rav Moshe Feinstein, Zecher Tzadik Livrocha. I thank God had some opportunities to have contact with him. And he was not a tall man, but I felt like a true pygmy minus being in his presence. But when Rav Moshe went down the street from his base medrash to home, there were people on both sides of the street asking shilas. Or Chaim, Yeridea, Ebenezer, Choshen Mishpat. He's going all the way down. So somebody saw him for the first time doing this, and the person didn't like it. This is the way you answer. He asked, this is the way you paskin shilas? A person sits down and he goes through the Shaila, and he goes through the sources, and that's the way he does it. This is not like an Ask the Rabbi thing. This man is a Gadol Hador. And when he's answering people's questions like that, is there no real diyun and koved rosh? So Moshe picked up right away that the man was a serious questioner. See, we stopped, and he turned to him and he said, if a person reviews Arba Chelkei Shulchan Aruch, if a person reviews the 4 sections of Shulchan Aruch 375 times, then he can answer questions like that. And he turned and he went on. He had chazered through 375 times all of Shulchan Aruch. And he says, and certainly, without a doubt, many of the commentary on it too. These are our leaders. When Rav Scheinberg, Zecher Tzaddik Yivrocha, when he took trips, he used to take a Gemara Nida with him. And during the time that he was not engaged with people, he would learn from the Gemara. And he would make multiple siyumim, depending upon the number of trips that he took outside the yeshiva. So, I guess, what his layovers were as well. So, someone once asked him, how many times have you learned Nida? How many times? He said, I stopped counting after 100. Again, this is that Gemara that was used only for trips. How much, I don't have this, and the question is rhetorical, but we get an idea of our Gedolim. You see, the love of Torah, my Rosh Hashiva, Rabbi Ruderman, Zecher Tzaddik Livracha, he in Europe, they didn't have Sforim like we have Sforim nowadays. So therefore, when the Shav Shmaitza, the Sefer, came to his city, it was only going to be there for one day. It was only going to be there for one day. How much of the Shav Shmaitza can you learn in one day? So he did get a copy. He did get that copy. And he stood all night in the moonlight. And he finished the Sefer in the moonlight. He was a Gaon. And he finished the Sefer, the Shav Shmaitza. I can't listen, what I'm telling you, I can't understand myself, okay? If you understand it, give it to me. But you have to be there to really get it. And the fact is, what a commitment. What a commitment in the moonlight to be able to learn. Baruch Hashem, it wasn't a cloudy light. Rabbi Yoshev, it's written down, Yitzchak Zilberstein brings it down, that when he was in the hospital, he was too tired to button. He wanted to be always dressed appropriately. So the person who was with him buttoned his top button to be able to, he should be properly dressed. So the same Rabbi Yoshev was too tired to button his top button, went to sleep and got up shortly after to learn for 3 hours before Shachris. This is a commitment. What's the point? The Rebbe in the classroom, to us tonight is, these are our leaders. When they say something, it's like Rav Moshe said, yes, a Rebbe, a person, or a Rosh Hashiva can answer, a Rav can answer the shilas if he's reviewed. Arba Shulchan Aruch, Chalkei Shulchan Aruch, 375, sure, that's it. Okay, you know what? I'm skipping. You're going to have to ask me back because I didn't get to what I want. I'm just beginning. This is just the introduction. The fact is, sometimes I hear people say, what do you do? What do you do? The person says, he puts his head down and says, I just sit and I learn. I just sit and learn. When I hear that, I just sit and learn. Does the surgeon say, I just cut? Does the lawyer say, I just defend or prosecute? They say, I can say, I learn in such and such kollel. I learn in such and such yeshiva. I learn after I finish a day of work. This is what I do. And I'm proud of it. This is the way a Rebbe, when he goes to class, and he gives over, the Morag is in there, gives to her and his Talmidim. They see a person who has pride, who appreciates that our Torah is Torah Hashem, the emes is there. No shaila. I'm going to end with one idea, and I do hope that I have another chance to be able to speak with you. And there was a seminar, a Rebbe in a seminar in Eretz Israel, who was on a bus, and he heard this exchange between the bus driver and children who were playing in the street. So picture, there's a double bus, and it's in one of the streets, one narrow street, and it wants to make a turn. And the children are playing. And the bus driver blows the horn, and the children don't move. And he blows the horn again. And the child looks up and says to the driver, "Anachnu shomim, anachnu shomim." So the driver says, "Lo maspik lishmoa, tzrichim lazuz." The child said, "Anachnu shomim, anachnu shomim. Lo maspik lishmoa, tzrichim lazuz." It's not enough to hear. You have to move. You have to move. And of course, I'm not sure they moved. So Rebbe gets off the bus, goes into the seminar class, and he said, "Wow." It's almost like the story I mentioned by the Ponovich. So this one, lo maspik lishma tzrichim lazuz. It's not enough to hear. You have to move. You, and I look at you, I want you to know, I look at you, for those of you who have been here the whole day, and even a good part of the day, but it doesn't make a difference. Now, at the end of a time, this is not a Sarah Batavis. Now, this is already, Shivas and Batamas. Halavai should never be a fast again. But the fact is, you're here. This is something. When I kibitzed before about survival of the fittest, it's not a true, it's not a real kibitz. But the fact is, you've heard it all. The key now is to internalize this. To say, I am a Rebbe in my home. I am a Rebbitzin or a Morah in my home. And not just in my home, in the workplace, in the store, in the whatever it is, for all people I come in contact with. Because people are going to look at me and they're going to formulate impressions about not just Jewish people, but about Judaism. I've always said to myself, Kalman, don't look doom and gloom. Whatever the situation is, and in my life, you live long enough, you are privy to and experience all different types of things. I understand that it is so, there are times a person may feel doom and gloom, but the fact is that we have to be able to knowing that Hashem is with us and that all is for our best at all times, that comes from Him, we're able to be filled with joy and happiness and show it in that way so that people say, if this is what an observant person is, I want to try this out. Maybe there's something to this. Baruch Hashem, halavai, we should be able to make those type of impressions on people. Thank you very, very much for giving me the opportunity to speak to this August group, and I should be well. Halavai, this will be the tipping point, and Mashiach will come.